computing, machine learning, all topics that I think many of you are at least somewhat familiar with. And our first speaker today is Marianna Bonanome from SandboxAQ, who is going to speak to you today about some aspects of quantum.
So I'd like to thank, of course, Derek and the other organizers. Thank you so much for welcoming us here. I'm so pleased and honored to be here with you and chat about what we do at Sandbox. I was a former university professor for many years. I taught at City Tech in downtown Brooklyn, one of the CUNY campuses. And in my road to coming where I am today, it was very, very windy. Because back when I was doing my research and coming out of undergrad, quantum computing was still a field that was very novel. So there were really inroads that were made in, say, the early 90s, 91, 94, and so on. And it was first, proposed by Richard Feynman, Mark Benioff, and others to be able to use a quantum, quantum particles in order to do processing and computing. It was proposed in the early 80s. So this is a field that's been evolving over the past few decades. And so when I learned about quantum computing, it was in 1999. I was a student at NYU Tandon School of Engineering, and I was very lucky that my professor, Professor Sofrinovich, who happened to also be Amro's professor 25 years later, we found each other. He taught me quantum computing, and I remember that, and I went on to do doctoral work in mathematics, and I was working on these combinatorial group theoretic problems, and I said, I can write a quantum algorithm to solve that. But again, the year was 2003. So we're talking more than 20 years ago. There were no quantum programs, there were no quantum minors, no quantum master's programs, and there were very few researchers in the field. So I was very, very lucky to be able to find my way to my thesis advisor, who is a physicist. He teaches at Hunter College. His name is Mark Hillary. And it's been my great pleasure, my honor, my privilege to be able to work with someone so incredible, humble, but also so well accomplished in the field. And throughout the years, I taught in the math department, but I stayed in touch with the physicists in my school, and I always delivered quantum computing lectures and so on. But it wasn't until a couple years ago that I finally started looking at, what does the field look like and what are the job opportunities? And I found Sandbox, and it was just such a perfect match that I couldn't resist coming over. And now I lead the education team at Sandbox. And I am super honored that now I get to help set the programs that I wish I had when I was a student. So now we're at the point where the job market is asking for students with this kind of training. And so now I get to come in and pull the expertise that we need at Sandbox and use that to help drive and form brand new programs to train the best and the brightest so that we can have participation in the space, because the potential is to solve the world's grandest challenges. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And we can go through this pretty quickly because I really want to spend time on what you would like to hear. So I'll ask you as we go which way we want to approach it. So just general overall, when we say AQ, we mean AI and quantum. And where we specialize is we really have our applications where they cannot thrive one without the other. We need the quantum information, the quantum data coming from quantum particles and sensors, but we also need the AI as a layer on top of it in order to take that signal and do something useful with it. Without the two coming together, none of our technology works. So when we say AQ, we really mean it. We do mean integrated AI and quantum. Now, to just make this clear, paint the picture, where did we come from? We're actually a Google X spinout. So we were founded inside parent company Alphabet. Jack Hidary started leading a group of Google engineers back in 2016. He wrote a book on quantum computing. Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google and CEO of Alphabet at different points, he got so excited about our work, he jumped on as our chair and said, I'm coming with you when you spin out. So actually, he spin out with us. He's our chair right now. And he's really incredible, and he's very hands-on with us. We're able to do this density functional theory, so this is quantum chemistry computation. We hold a world record for that. And then we spun out in early 2022. I came on in May. I taught my last semester. I gave my students my finals, and a week later I was at Sandbox. So it's been really a whirlwind and a wild ride. So you heard my kind of windy story, right? Path from engineering student, doctoral mathematician, I founded a couple of ed tech companies along the way. That was a whole another one of my 9 lives. But I found my way here, and in fact, that story is echoed very much through a lot of the folks that I work with. Many of the folks that we work with, very few have this formal training in quantum, right? Because like I said, these programs generally are not many. They're few and far between. And most of the talent that we have really draws from existing training. So we were just speaking, applied mathematicians, absolutely perfect. We have quite a few research scientists on staff that are mathematicians, but also computer engineers, electrical engineers, computer scientists, computational chemists. The list goes on and on and on. Neuroscientists. We have folks coming from the healthcare sector. Some people came from Johnson & Johnson. So the mixed bag of background and collecting everyone into one spot is what really allows us to catalyze and build the tech. So what do? We're kind of like 3 startups smushed into one. And so we have a vertical that's simulation optimization, and we focus mainly on drug discovery here. So we look at the electronic structure of molecules, and we run quantum chemistry simulations on classical devices. And then we also use AI in this process. So we're able to accelerate that time to clinical trial by an order of magnitude of 29. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a sec. But we also do new materials discovery and battery science. Those are newer tracks in the simulation and optimization. So they're really quantum-inspired techniques, but they're running on classical processors, GPUs and TPUs, tensor networks. Quantum security and communications, we have a whole quantum security group. We have folks who are cryptographers with us, and they work with NIST to set the standards for post-quantum cryptography. Right now, we have finalists in that protocol, in that competition, and we have a whole product suite around security. And then we have our quantum sensing. So we use quantum particles not for processing, but for building hardware and for sensing and building medical diagnostic devices and to do quantum navigation. So I'll go through these applications quickly because if you have questions later, we can focus on one or more of them. I mentioned this already. I mentioned the CPUs, the GPUs. So those are the gaming. So if you're gamers in here, you know what I'm talking about. All those amazing graphics cards that you use when you game. Turns out they're amazing for quantum chemistry. So we use them for our simulation optimization. We know that one day we'll have the QP, quantum processing units. Those are coming. IBM and others, Xanadu, they're all working on engineering that challenge, but they're all going to work in an ecosystem. It's not going to be one rather than the other. They're going to speak to each other, and parts of different algorithms are going to be more amenable to certain processors. So some parts of the algorithms will be classical, and that's the most efficient way to go. Some parts of the algorithm have something special, and you may want to go the quantum route. So it's going to depend on the use case that you're looking at. We'll move here. I mentioned this already, what we're focused on, and I'll move this along more quickly. So here, I want to mention here this kind of idea of the quantum threat, and we don't harp on this too much, but it's something to be aware of. A whole bunch of governments around the world are preparing for this quantum threat because already Shor gave an algorithm which, once we have a fast enough, powerful enough quantum computer in place, we're going to be able to crack all of our existing modern, or most of our existing modern cryptography. The cryptographic protocols that we have, most of it, a lot of it, is reliant on the fact that it's hard to factor. And if we have a fast factoring algorithm, which Shor gave, we're going to be able to crack a lot of these RSA-based cryptographic protocols. And in preparation for this, a lot of governments are putting out mandates saying, All government agencies, you have a certain number of days to identify where you're quantum vulnerable, and you need a remediation plan. What are we doing with this quantum threat? And the issue is that it takes years to migrate. So if the quantum computer is a few years on the horizon, if we don't start now, we're going to run into a matter of national security. And what's happening is these SNDL attacks. They're called store now, decrypt later, where bad actors are downloading encrypted data and they're sitting on it, so that when they're able to, and they have the fast enough quantum algorithms and computers to go with it, they can crack that data, and it's still going to be relevant. So in 5 years, it could be that maybe they're sensitive national security secrets. 5 years, they may still be relevant. Same for financial data, same for healthcare data. So bad actors are already performing these attacks, so we have evidence of it. So I'll move this along a lot more quickly. I mentioned the medical sensing. I'm not going to go too much into it because I want to just speak to the residency program before I wrap. But what we've been doing is we're doing cardiomagnetometry. So we're looking at the magnetic field of the heart, and we're able to do that using quantum sensors. So that's quantum information, quantum data coming, looking at the magnetic field map. And then where does the AI come in? Well, the AI has to come in to denoise that signal. And we weren't able to do this until now because it took computational power, compute power, and sophistication of algorithms to get to the point where now we can do this sophisticated denoising. In a hospital setting, as you know, there's a lot of machinery, elevators, even your Apple Watch, everything puts out a magnetic field map signal. And so we need to detect, extract the valuable signal coming from the heart. And so we're able to do that. You see the AI is coming in here. That's the AI. And this is what our device looks like. It's unshielded, and it can be taken to point of care. Right now, the familiar quantum device is an MRI, and that machine, as you know, is in a giant room, super expensive, really loud, and it's hard to get a test on that. The insurance companies don't always pay for it. But what we're proposing is this big, can be brought to point of care, it's unshielded, room temperature, and we're hoping, we're working on it to get FDA clearance. It'll go quickly because it's not emitting anything. It's only a listening device. So this is what you're looking at is the next generation of quantum devices. One more application, quantum navigation. Well, if we can detect a magnetic field map of the heart, we can certainly do that for the Earth. And if we compare with existing magnetic field maps of the Earth, we can do point location. Again, the AI comes in to help us do point location. Why is this revolutionary? Well, you can't spoof it, you can't jam it, and especially if you're in an airplane flying across the Atlantic, you lose GPS. I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty worried. I want a backup system to be able to do a point location. This is what we're able to do. And we have relationships with Airbus and Boeing and others where we're already testing these out on air vehicles. Also the US Air Force and the Royal Air Force in England as well that we're testing these devices out. Okay, so to wrap, I just want to mention I'm on the EDU team. Amro is one of my incredible residents. He'll be here to answer questions. What do we do on EDU? Well, we work with all the verticals that I spoke about. We create product training for our products. We create training for general education and for our corporate partners. We work with universities where we have agreements, sometimes research agreements, sometimes we co-host events together, sometimes we exchange speakers. The list goes on and on. Every relationship is bespoke. And all these slides I have shared with you all will have access. We have all these videos on our YouTube channel. We have a learning academy. I mentioned look at our amazing partners. We want to have Stony Brook up here on there. We'll work on it. But we have amazing partners. We even work with cultural institutions. So the Museum of Natural History, we paid visits and we're working with them, and others. Residency program. We have residents from 14 countries, and they all work across all the verticals. And so if you want to learn more about that residency program, just ask us some questions. So I don't want to take up too much more time because I know we have other speakers. So thank you.